Ali Bacher. My matric year was 50 years, and I come back today, and just sensing the tradition here, the heritage, the culture, the passion. Right at the outset, I want to tell every one of you that you're very, very fortunate to be in King Edward's. It is a great educational institution. And as I left in 1959, whatever I wanted to pursue in my career, I can tell you, every one of you, that what I learned here, the discipline, the morals, good values, stemmed from my 5 years at this very famous education institution. I went on to become a doctor, and I went to Wits Medical School, and although there were some wonderful teachers there, I can recall the brilliant education that I received at King Edward's School. And the teachers that I had in matric, most of them were at the boarding school, most of them had been here for decades. They were passionate about the school, they loved the school, they got paid meager amounts. But to me, that school at that time, and I'm sure it's no different now, revolved around a core of extraordinarily wonderful teaching people, people who gave their life for the betterment of the people who came through the school. I played my sport here. There are two things that I recall about my matric year. It's with pride that our first team in my matric year, we never lost a game. I think we had 21 games, we won 16, and what was so extraordinary about that team, that we hardly had a quick bowler, but we had two wonderful spin bowlers in Garthfoot and Gareth Van Ferro. I think they bowled 80% of our overs, and we won beaten. And those of you who can recall what I said in 2009 might recall the following story, but I think for those who weren't here in 2009, it's worth repeating. The most extraordinary cricket game I ever played in, took place at King Edward's on that cricket field in 1959. We were playing a school down the road. I can't recall its name. What is its name? St. John's, right. It was a Saturday, Wednesday game. The game started at 2 o'clock. We bowled him out of tea time, I think for about 132. And I bat number 3, and I can recall batting on the far side. I come in first wicket down by the prep there, and I had about 24 not out of 25. And one of their bowlers got 5 wickets, and we were bowled out for 29. That would be the first time ever that I'd been involved in a team that lost to St. John's at cricket. And I can recall at the end of the day's play, the captain come in to me and said, "Look, Ollie, the game's over. Look, I know it's scheduled for Wednesday, let's call it a day." I remember saying to him, "Look, hold on, it's scheduled, I think you should pitch up on Wednesday." And the game was due to start on 2 o'clock. But before that, on the Monday and Tuesday, the science labs, I batted 3, and my 2 opening batsmen were formulating strategy how we could retrieve ourselves from this very difficult situation. They arrived at 20 past 2, 20 minutes late. We follow on, and at about 4 o'clock, there's a tea break. I think I can recall that in that 100 minutes, we scored about 170 or 180. That was a strategy that had been planned in the science labs. And I declared, and we left them, what would it be, 105 minutes to get 70 odd runs. And we bowled them out for 29, and one of our bowlers got 5 wickets in 1 over. You may ask why I'm here today with Bryan. One of the things I do, and I love every part of it, because I think this country doesn't recognise and acknowledge that we have some really sporting greats in this country. So for the past 18 months, I have done some interviews on some sporting greats. And in December, I phoned Bryan here on my left, and he said the only day he could come was today. So after this assembly, we came onto the rugby field, and I'm going to interview Bryan. And Bryan, I want to tell you, I've done a lot of research on it.
I'm telling you now, I probably know more about your life than your brother does. But in doing research on Bryan and speaking to many of his peers, people like John Smith, who I spoke to in the UK last week, and yesterday Jake White in Sydney, let's just put aside his great rugby achievements, 83 tests, 47 test tries. In the words of John Smith, he's one of the greatest all-round wingers of all time. But there are two aspects of him that I want to talk to you about. And I think that's why I'm mentioning to you about Bryan Habana. And it's not me saying it, but it's his peers saying it. That from the moment he became an international rugby star in 2004, he's never changed. He's never lost a common touch. He's the same person today as he was in 2004. And John Smith, Bryan, I want to tell you this, gave you the ultimate accolade. He said to me that he's got two sons, two boys, and when they grow up, if they can emulate you as their role model, as a person, as an individual, with your values and your morals, he'd be the proudest father. Jake White also paid him wonderful, wonderful compliments. But the best thing he said to me about Bryan Habana is that he never ever lost the attribute of being a good listener and a good learner. I think that is a hallmark of a future champion. So Bryan, I'm delighted and honored to be with you today. I know you're going to say a few words, and all of us, including myself, just cannot compliment you enough on the extraordinary achievements that you have achieved, not only for King Edward School, but for South African rugby and for our country. Let me just conclude by saying that it's very appropriate that today, the day before the test match against Pakistan at the Wanda Stadium, and another South African who has really performed with distinction for our country comes from King Edward School, Graeme Smith. And his story too is a most remarkable story. That at the age of 22, after only 8 test matches, he was asked to captain South Africa. And the late Bob Wilmer, who really was a brilliant coach and with good intent, said at the time that Bryan, I think you're too young, too inexperienced, your turn will come, wait. And what Graeme said right away up front, I believe I can handle it. And how did he handle it? Age 22, he went to England. 2003, he scored a double century at Edgbaston, and I was at Lord's for the second test match, where he scored 259 at Lord's. And that achievement remains the highest score ever by any non-British player to have scored a test double century at Lord's. And that even surpasses the 255 scored by the great Sir Donald Bryan in 1930. So this is the most extraordinary achievement. And the last achievement which you need to record is that in the history of Test cricket, Test captains, only 2 of them have gone to Australia, played in Australian Test series, and defeated Australia, and he's one of them. And then the history of Test cricket, of overseas touring captains going to the United Kingdom, play England, and we're talking about starting from 1890, only 5 captains have beaten England on consecutive Test series. He's one of them, and included in that list is the great Clive Lloyd and Ali Bacher of Australia. So tomorrow it is a milestone, not only for Graeme Smith, but I think for everybody who loves South African cricket with passion, and I think particularly young King Edwards, because this is where he started off, this is where he learned his roots, and this is where he learned to play great game of cricket. So I conclude by saying to every one of you that really, as I look around, and school really in many ways hasn't changed. The assemblies are still powerful, everybody looks forward to it, there's discipline and there's value. And I feel, as I leave King Edward today, that once again I leave the school thankful, eternally thankful for having come to a great educational institution.